the Dear Sweet and Low. I am Low.
I am Coach Sweet. Hello, friends. Hello, relationship junkies. Hello, Heartbreak Club.
Today we're going to be talking about how to get over a heartbreak. We've all, unless you're under a rock.
Unless you are fresh on the scene. You ain't done nothing. You ain't gone nowhere. You haven't extended yourself whatsoever.
We've all been through a heartbreak some way or another.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about how to get over that heartbreak, that pain. And if you've been through a rough one, you know what I'm talking about.
What do you classify as a rough one?
A rough one?
I'm curious now. Yeah. Like there are some breakups I thought were rough, but weren't. Not compared to like the tsunami that came.
The rough ones are the ones where you wanted to make it work and they left you. I think those hurt more.
Yes.
Than the ones where it's like, you know it's not going to work, but y'all had a long history, but you know it's not going to work, and so you separate because it's just, you don't see a future with the person. But if you really want this person and they either cheated on you, betrayed you, you thought everything was perfect, and then they just left you, those are the ones that really hit hard. I'm not saying the other ones are not painful, but...
That's a really good distinction, though, because on one hand, you have, here's an amicable relationship, meaning it is hurting and it's hurting both of you, but you, like, that person cares enough about you to stay and be like, this is why. It's me, but it's you, and it's our connection, versus somebody who just completely vanishes, who just, one day you come home and half the shit's gone, there's a note on the counter saying XYZ.
Yeah, that one's the most painful.
That's hardcore.
It's gonna have you questioning your existence.
That's so true. That's so true. So to break this down,
funny,
right? And I don't think we could qualify breakups, because whatever your breakup is your breakup, right? That's your heart. That's your pain in that moment. And if you are listening to this, you might be going through that. But we're gonna break this up into like different lengths of time. So, when you first are freshly broken up, right? This is the first stage, from like the day after they are gone, kaput, whatever, the nail is in the coffin, you know it's over, up until, let's say, this is like the first 6 months of your breakup. My suggestion, through having suffered through breakups and computated the pitfalls and all the different things that come about, and then works with different clients who are going through that. They really, really want to give space for their emotions. They don't want to bury things that will resurface later. And they want to get over it. They don't want this breakup to define them. Because it can. It can easily take over your life. It can really like suffocate you and drown you. And then you're detached from the rest of the world, at least for a time. So the first 6 months... Feel your feelings in any kind of journal form that is applicable, meaning like write it out longhand. I feel like this, and he promised this, and she said she'd do that, and this is what I'm gonna miss the most. Like getting it out of your system every single day is like treating a snake bite wound. So you're extracting some of the venom. Like you can't get rid of it completely, but you are tending to the cut or the abscess or the part of you that's injured. When you're putting those kind of feelings in another place, you've made room to feel other things. So they're going to build up again because that hurt is still there, but at least you're taking some of the pressure off for just a moment.
One of the ways I was able to get over a breakup, because I had a problem with just remembering the good things. I'm sure we all do, where you just remember all the wonderful things about the person and not the reason y'all actually broke up.
Right.
So it's like, oh, they were good in bed. Oh, they were so pretty. Oh, they were so funny. But what are the other things? So remember that what I did was I would write in my notes the reasons why we didn't work and why we wouldn't work, and the reasons and the things I didn't like about them. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but it helps if you remember why y'all broke up, because as soon as y'all that thing end, yo, you only gonna remember the good stuff. You're gonna start fantasizing about them like you had a perfect relationship and you know you didn't. Maybe this person was super dirty.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't like that.
Like physically, or like
No.
they're like their emotions?
You were telling them to like clean the dishes.
Oh,
They never
okay.
did.
Okay. Oh,
You
yeah.
were
Oh, yeah.
babying this person. You know, they didn't care about your feelings. They only care about themselves.
All right.
They were super broke. You don't know. There's reasons why y'all broke up. But now you're forgetting that you only remembering the good things.
Yes.
So write it down. Write down those things you don't like about them and remember it and move on.
I think that's a great tip, especially because there's always this little voice in the back of your head that's going to say, what if they text me? Hoping that they will text you, hoping to suck you back into the vortex of why it didn't work. Because that especially makeup sex and makeup, the energy of that is so great, is so tempting that you might get drawn into the same pattern of behavior with the same person or the same kinds of persons over and over again and not learn what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
What your deeper, more shadow tendencies are trying to tell you. So I really like that. The pros and cons list, A+. This one is a little bit, it's for our hardcore people who are really, really suffering, and maybe they're more sensitive. Maybe they're almost afraid that they're going to slip into more of a manic depression, like a major depression, something that might need to be treated through either therapy or chemical intervention. Not saying that's bad, but you can curtail that by doing something that completely, and I do mean completely, distracts your attention, right? So some people are more addicted to the feeling of being in love and being in a relationship than they are the actual person that they're with. And noticing that, they have to shift that intensity into something that actually works for them. There's different programs out there. You can do like a 30-day challenge that every day you have to do this one thing every single time. And it's like from order of magnitude. So say you're going to do yoga every day for 30 days, or you're going to do a breathing technique every day for 30 days. Or you could embark on a diet, and we'll get to revenge bodies in a minute. Wait. But during this time, you're really diverting all the energy that's coming up, and when you were with that person, you could take that energy and you could focus it on them. You could focus it on arguing with them or making love with them or just wondering, what's going to happen to our relationship and nitpick that to death, like with a sledgehammer. But in this way, you're focusing on you at this point. Not them, what they did or what they didn't do, but on you and where you want to be moving forward. So for you hardcore junkies out there, and I'm one of them, I'm the all or nothing kind of personality who has to do that kind of thing, who has to either self-bind, meaning I can't think about this one thing at all for a certain period of time because it lets my subconscious process, or I'm totally invested in this new thing that I've wanted to do but didn't make time for. So it's like right now, my daughter and I are doing 75 hard. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's for all you guys are just like, oh, what is that? Is there a soft version? But so 75 days. There is a soft version. We're not doing that. But it's you work out twice a day. You drink a gallon of water. You read 10 pages of a self-help or nonfiction. And you stick to your diet. No cheating, no alcohol. And this is for people who sort of flirted with their potential, sort of gotten to a point where, hey, I'm getting in a routine, but maybe I've hit a plateau. They've never pushed themselves hard enough to know where their limits really are. I love stuff like that. I've done jiu-jitsu for stuff like that. I've done writing experiments, writing every day, publishing something every day for 30 days. And it is a game changer because at some point it does not matter how you feel. It does matter how you feel. I'm not saying you should neglect your feelings. But if you've given your promise, your word to yourself, the feeling is going to change. Like right now, I feel chill, excited, slightly nervous to talk about this kind of stuff because I want to remember everything and I want to make it a good experience for us. Mm-hmm. But in 20 minutes, that's going to be a completely different feeling. So just acknowledging that I'm going to start this thing and I'm going to follow through no matter what feelings come up during that. I'm going to notice them, I'm going to acknowledge them, but then I'm going to let them go and like send them on their way. It'll help you actually tap into this is right now. Mm-hmm. This is the feeling of right now. What can I do right now that will project me into the future that I want? Versus let me wallow and smother myself in memories of the past. That's the first 6 months. And that can be kind of hardcore. Okay, so if that pain has not abated, if that pain is still as tangible and real and pulsing, and like, you know, you can feel it. Like every time you think of that person, it's almost like you're being ripped apart again. This is like the next 6 to 12 month section. So we're going into a realm of when is this going to stop? Like when I'm supposed to be dating now, I'm supposed to be engaging with other people. Did that person steal my joy? You got any thoughts for that?
Yeah, you screwed.
You're not screwed. But, okay. I kind of like that though. So there's this little quotient that, I don't remember where I heard this, but supposedly the length of time that it takes for you to get over someone is half of the time that you were with them. So if you were with somebody for 2 years, supposedly you're supposed to get over them in like 6 months to a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I was with somebody for a year. It took me 4.
There you go. That kind of works. Like there's a window of opportunity.
No. I was with them for a year. It took me 4 years.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that though. I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll get to that, right? So this is the period in which you really get to be putting yourself out there again in the dating scene. And I'm not saying that you take that heartbreak with you to every date that you go to. I am saying that you start dabbling with different personalities out in the dating world to see what they're all about. Because maybe you got stuck in this fixation of this one person and nobody else is going to fit that mold. And they're not. But by sticking there, you're limiting yourself to finding what other types of personalities could match you better.
Yeah. And a lot of times when people go through a breakup and they really love that person, they try to just find another person like them, which is not good. They try to find somebody who looks just like that person.
Right.
Not we all, but a lot of us do that.
A lot of us do. It's unconscious, but it's also like attracted to, you were attracted to certain aspects of a certain person. That's just it. And that's probably never going to change. But can that new person have all the traits of your old person, but have awareness? Can they be more at home in themselves? Like those are the markers that you can pay attention to. Like for the longest time, I thought my type was a dark-haired guy, and I married a ginger. And then I fell in love with another. I divorced him, but I started falling in love with another light-haired person. I don't know why that is. Like you can say you're attracted to a certain type, physically at least, but when it comes down to it, the person that fits you the best might not be that. Coincidentally, I did end up with a dark-haired person, but but that was like when it comes to like what are the physical attractions.
But hair got to be one of the last things on the list when it
totally is. Like especially for people who are just starting out dating, they're gonna think about physical traits first. But if somebody keeps asking, "What do you want in a real mate?" they're actually going to think about, "I want them to be funny. I want them to be kind. I want them to be smart." Just assuming that all of those things are going to equal whatever physical representation, poof, you know? Having your core values reflect the same thing is pretty important, and I think a lot of people gloss over that, because if you're with somebody whose priority is money and safety, but your priority is creativity and family, you're gonna clash. You're gonna clash so hard, in so many different ways. But during the grieving process, which you are grieving the loss of a relationship and the loss of a dream. Mostly you're grieving the loss of a dream. So that person didn't live up to your expectations or the dream that you had co-created together.
Yeah, and also we need to be honest with ourselves too. What did we do wrong in our relationship? And how can we learn from it? Because a lot of times there's certain things we did that made that person maybe leave us, made the relationship end, and we ignored that and try to put all the blame on that person. So we got to learn, and then our next relationship, we try to do better. So it's not a horrible thing to analyze the relationship, to think about it, feel the pain from start to finish, like, dang, I really did that. Feel that. Because you can't escape the pain no matter how much you try to, you can't escape that. We can tell you all these advice, but it's still going to be painful if you truly love that person. And just try to be better in your next relationship. Try to learn and see what you can do next time that will improve your future relationships.
Absolutely. Which brings us into the next category. So it's been over a year, right? It's going into 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. There's lots of years in between the love of that, probably that first deep true love too, which leaves a mark on your soul. It does. And to say that love is supposed to disappear over time doesn't look at the big picture. And it really downplays the immenseness of a heart that can love multiple people in different ways at once. So you can still have a lot of love for your exes while actively being and falling in love with someone else. A lot of people say, no, I can't do that. It's got to be my one and only. That is it seems like the only prescription for happily ever after is this fairy tale of this is my person, this is always going to be my person no matter what. And the amount of belief you wrap around that sort of truth almost guarantees that your relationship might fail. Simply because it doesn't leave any room for what ifs and for different kinds of interaction. So you're putting all of your needs, all of your wants onto one person. The pressure of that, and you've heard us say this many of times, you can have your one and only, absolutely. But please do not expect them to fulfill every want and need. Which brings me to the point of, if you're pining and longing for this person, if you have set a part of your heart to only love that person, so it's closed off from everything else and anything else, you're actually leading several lives. You're leading your outside life, your reality life, and you're leading your fantasy life with this other person as if they still existed. So you're kind of cheating on whoever you're with. You do this for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's so much easier to be in a fantasy where you control all the elements. They will always say what you want them to say, do what you want them to do, react how you want them to react. It never asks that you be accountable for what you bring to the table and why they might have left in the first place. Why, at the end of the day, you guys might have been great, but you might have also brought out the worst aspects in each other. So if that's the case, and it's been years and years and years, there is that accountability check, but there's also the need to start working out those issues with somebody else. There is a deeper wound that has taken hold, and it has to do with the lost love, but it kind of doesn't. It really has to do with the accumulation of every loss that you've ever experienced, all wrapped in one ball, one giant ball of trauma. Were you abandoned as a kid in some kind of way? Were you not given the attention you so desperately wanted from a parent? All of that is going to just keep wrapping up and wrapping up and wrapping up. So if it's been years since you had that breakup and suffered through that, and you just don't want to get over it, you probably need to talk to somebody. Like really, really talk to them. And they get to be a neutral person. They get to be a wise person. You get to source somebody who can sit and be with you in a way that's non-judgmental. Where you can go from beginning to end of that relationship and pick apart every little thing of like, this is what I wanted in them. And especially if they're a professional, if they're a really good friend, they're going to ask you questions like, if that person showed up tomorrow, what would you do? A good friend asks you that question because that's a hard question.
Would you give that person, like, if they wanted to be with you, would you allow it?
Yeah.
Would you go back with them?
If they showed up, after everything that you've experienced and everything that you know about yourself now, because you're not the same person now as you were back then.
Yeah.
That isn't to say that love is not the person you're supposed to be with. I'm not saying that, because there's a ton of stories who were like, we were together when we were young, but then we broke up and I don't know what happened, but I just couldn't get them out of my mind. And, I got to this place, I was in a relationship and we were talking commitment, like, put a ring on it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it's like, I kept thinking about this person and this person popped up in my mind. And then suddenly I'm dropping everything and I'm going to them and saying, I need to actually create closure for this, or we need to be together. Like it becomes that, and you become the captain of that ship. You own it. You say, this is what we did wrong in the past. And then you're actively saying like, do you feel the same? Right? A lot of people don't do that. They are so terrified of that rejection, of feeling that hurt again, that they don't go to the one who supposedly captured their heart forever and say, wait a minute. Because if they do get rejected again, not only are they going to suffer a second time, but they have to reinvent who they want to be in their future, which is probably really terrifying. Like that's really terrifying. Just like you've done everything that you could to get over this person. You have all these different people in your life. You might even have another partner in your life at that point. You might already be married with children. I think one of the best movies that I can think of where that's like an in-your-face, you're the love of my life kind of thing. Well, there's two of them. There's Castaway. So it's Tom Hanks. He gets, his plane goes down. He's stranded on a desert island by himself for 4 years. And all he can think about is his girlfriend, Kelly. And they were supposed to get married, right? Yeah. But it's been 4 years and everybody said he was dead.
What if I want to see the movie now? You just ruined it for me.
I haven't, because you don't know what happened.
Yeah, but you're about to tell me.
It's such a great movie. Spoiler, it is.
You're about to say what happened.
I won't say what happened then.
Go watch the movie, guys.
Go watch the movie. It is poignant and heartbreaking, but also just like, yeah, that's realistic.
But we all seen The Notebook though, so The Notebook is like one. Oh
yeah, I've seen that one and I banished it from my memory.
You did? Wow.
Isn't that the one with she has Alzheimer's?
No, that's not it.
Isn't it? Yes. He's reading her from her notebook, the story of their life and their love. Isn't it? At the end of it, they die together.
They died at the end? All right,
oh my God. Yeah, we've seen it. We've all seen it.
All right, who's in the movie? Who's in the movie then?
Oh God, Ryan
Gosling?
Oh yeah.
What happened in the movie?
And what's her face? So it starts off as they're old and they're in this like retirement community, but they're two old people, and he's like talking to her and she's like, who are you? He tells her the story, and it's actually the story of their marriage.
So what happened in the story?
He was like lower middle class, and she was a high class chick who was supposed to marry this other dude who came from prestige or whatever. But they fell in love like during the summer. Broke up, went their different ways. Is any of this ringing a bell? You remember the youthfulness? So they had this really great, rich, loving life. Yeah. They fell in love, they broke apart, and then they found each other then. And that really is, a great story for a novel or a 2-hour book. And it covers all the feels, right? It covers like, here's two beautiful people who have a beautiful relationship. They get each other. They see each other, and there's that unspoken promise that changes every little wave and detail in the world around them.
Yeah, but the older I get, the more I realize how unrealistic the Notebook was. Because listen, it was 2 weeks.
Oh, they were only together 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
At the beginning.
If I remember, it was only 2 weeks.
Okay.
So you mean to tell me you met somebody for 2 weeks and then 10 years, 4 years, whatever it is later, you're still obsessed with that person? You could be, but you're not in love.
It's rare.
It's
so
2 weeks.
rare.
Come on, let's do that.
It's so rare.
It's 2 weeks.
Well, okay.
You
I
get
do
like-
have to say, like, the way that people thought back then were a little bit different too. Like during that time period, this was like 1950s, 1960s, I think, when they fell in love. So there's there's a generational influence that goes into our decisions about love and how long we're supposed to stay with each other. So that generation very much was, you find someone, you fall in love, and you stay together until you die. It doesn't matter what happens. The chances of you being in love every second of that, I mean, you have to work at that. I would say that's sort of my parents' story in very many ways.
Yeah, but your parents didn't separate for 10 years and then come back.
They did not. They did separate for a minute, and then their friends took it upon themselves to be like, no, you guys really do belong together, and sort of shoved them together. Like, but they had broken up for like a year, but he couldn't think about anybody else. And she, like, I'll be straight, like, my mother never chose anybody but my dad. She would have found somebody else, but she knew from day one.
So she was
the one.
She was never with anybody else but your dad her whole life?
Her whole life. And neither was he. Neither was he, yeah.
That's the kind of love I want.
Yeah. This is what I mean.
I want to erase all my past traumas.
Okay. But what would you have learned from them, though, otherwise? You wouldn't have learned how to be...
You don't know what you know unless you
This is
you
true.
don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're missing unless you experience it.
Yeah.
That's how it was meant to be.
Okay, but here's the negative of that. And nobody wants to talk about the negative, but I'm going to talk about it because I lived it. When you're somebody who grew up watching that and knowing it was possible, you automatically think, this is what's going to happen for me. But it didn't. And I followed those steps. I followed the steps of what they did, thinking that was supposed to be for me. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. So not only did I feel like a failure for a long time, as far as relationships, but I had to reimagine what I thought of a real and satisfying love for myself. So going back to, like, it's been a long time since you got over that person. They've been out of your life for years. And I have that feeling too, and I've had clients who've had that, I'm stuck on this idea of this person. And then I ask them, and this is a deep practice that we get into, of I want you to list all the people that you have in some way fallen in love with since. It could be on a friend level, it could be on a physical level, it could be like, it's not that love that you're fixated on, but it is a different kind of love. So during that time frame, you've met a ton of people, and they satisfy a part of you that maybe that first person didn't and couldn't and never knew how. I'm not saying that my parents didn't have other friends that fulfilled different needs for them, because they did. They didn't go out there outside of their marriage in a physical way, in a sexual way. They didn't cheat on each other. But I definitely remember there was a period when they were both in their 40s when they were hitting a plateau in the relationship, and that came up where they had both been attracted to different people, and they had to reassess what do we stand for? What are the promises that we made? Like, it takes people of incredible, like, love and integrity and respect, deep respect for each other, to come and sit with your friend, your absolute best friend in the world, and say, I need something else. What are we going to do about this? In my own life, when I look at all the people that I've met since I broke up with that one, there's so much love. There's so much love. It's like that person was yanked out of my life, and the space that it created was overfilled. Like the universe just threw tons of different kinds of loves at me. And if I were to choose between them now, the thing that I got versus the thing that I'm missing, the thing that I got in its place is way more interesting and way more deep and way more satisfying than I think that relationship would have been. Like just knowing myself and doing the work and just be like, well, I have to be honest about it, because if I'm gonna coach people about their relationship, you have to be as honest with yourself as you are with the people you're saying, like, hey, I need you to be honest with yourself. You know, do as I say, not as I do. But that, like, you wouldn't have the relationships you have now if it weren't for that person leaving.
True.
They created, and I do think that the universe kind of plucked them out of your path so it could say, wait a minute, this is not it for you. What I have in store for you is so much better. Just trust me. Just really, like, trust me. Trust in your heart. Trust in your soul. Don't give up. Like, what's coming will blow your effing mind. But, you know, if you say that to somebody who's going through a heartbreak, they're gonna be like, shut up. Just let me hurt about it. Let me wallow around in it. Let me throw myself on the floor and have a tantrum and go for it. Go for it.
So how do you get over heartbreak? What do you do?
What kind of heartbreak?
Heartbreak.
Actually,
right?
Okay.
Just pick a heartbreak. How do you get over heartbreak? Somebody you really cared about, it just didn't work out.
Right. For whatever reason, okay. Ooh, that's difficult now because I feel like such a whole person.
The last heartbreak you went through, how did you get over it?
The last heartbreak I went through, though, was the death of my dog.
I'm talking about relationship.
I know, but...
That's not a dog. A person.
It was kind of the same thing. It was even rougher. Okay, so I know you're like, no, that doesn't work out.
Yeah, I'm talking about a relationship. The dog is different. We're talking about a relationship.
Maybe.
With a guy.
Okay. Like a real one? Or the things that...
Whatever heartbreak with a guy. The last heartbreak you had with a guy. Why are you making this question so complicated?
Because I've had a lot of relationships.
The last heartbreak you had with a guy. She about to be like, when my mosquito died.
My pet flea. He jumped off the board. Okay, no. Okay. So I think it's the most appropriate to say like the first serious heartbreak that I ever went through. This is a multifaceted story and very deep phase, but I'm going to sum it up and say that I went through a pretty serious depression for at least a year. I didn't date. I took a vow of celibacy. I absolutely kind of cut myself off from anything that had to do remotely with love. And I needed that. I definitely needed that. I was doing all of the work that said, yes, I'm going to give myself the space to grieve. No, this person is not what I thought he was. And I wasn't who I said I was with him. So there was that accountability. Like I was really, really accountable because you have to be at that point. Plus I had a 6-year-old during that time. Like I couldn't just lock myself in a closet and weep and cry and all that stuff. Like I had to get on with life. She deserved a mother who was present for her. Even though there was a big chunk of that time was just kind of like grieving. And you don't want to live your best life during that time. And maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should just like let it happen. Like let the grieving process happen. So in the grieving process, I went through denial. So I denied when it was really clear to me that we were broken up for good and I was never going to get back together with him. I went through the denial period, which I didn't think about at all. Just put everything out of my mind, focused on work. And then the anger of how dare didn't they know how great I was? And then, of course, constructing the revenge body, which, goddamn, I did that. I threw myself hardcore into understanding everything about love, the art of seduction, power exchange, sex, kink, fetish, all that stuff. This was my biggest area of growth, though. Because it was like, you have to change or else, like, that's it. There was no other option. There was just grow. You have to grow. Mm-hmm. And then I started dating again. And this was probably 2 years after. And I ran into him, actually. So here I am, this new evolved person, and I met up with him, and we had, like, I was in his town, I was visiting, and I invited him back to my hotel room. And there was this moment of like, oh yeah, the love is still there, but the want is not. Like, I had that feeling of like, yeah, I could fuck him. But it wasn't, I was so clear-headed at that point. Like, the addiction and the chemical response and all of the emotional bleh.
Yeah, so did you do it?
No.
You guys didn't hook up?
No. And he was game, but I was just like, nah, I'm good. Like, I told him, though, I sat him down and I was that friend that I wanted to
so
be.
You invited him to the hotel room.
With the possibility that it could be something more. But when it happened...
Once he came, you was like, I ain't feeling it.
I was listening to my heart above all else. Not the heart that I thought that I'd given him, but the heart of, like, oh, this isn't good for me and it's not good for us.
Did he gain weight or something?
No, he was beautiful. He was just as beautiful before as he was back then. That got my eye. And just as charming and charismatic, that even his energy had changed. He wasn't, I'm going to pursue this conquest or else. I'm going to get you or else. Because that got me.
So it didn't seem like he wanted you like that or like that.
Right. It was much more like present and just like, I'm glad that you're okay. And I'm glad that I'm okay. We had both done a lot of healing during that time. And it's really nice. Like, I let go of that. I didn't check on Facebook or keep tabs of him or any of this crap. Like, I don't do any of that. When I'm done, I'm done. Because that's... It's a little bit of self-flagellation, meaning you're hurting yourself on purpose. Every time you look at somebody's Facebook or every time you try and check up with where they are in their life, you are hurting yourself on purpose. Why are you hurting yourself? What does it serve you? What benefit does it drive you to keep working out and keep looking great and keep attracting other male attention? You got to ask those questions. Like, why are you doing it?
I mean, every time I need a little boost of energy in the gym, just check out your ex Instagram.
Do you? Do you?
I get extra 5 pull-ups in.
Do you?
Once in a while, you know what I'm saying?
5 pull-ups.
Get an extra little 5
Does this happen because you see that they're not doing so good, or because they're doing great? They're living their best life.
I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't do it.
Why? Never? You've never checked on an ex?
On an ex?
Yeah.
No, I do that all the time.
Okay. Why though?
Huh? No, but
yes.
no. It's not, if you're single, you check out on your ex, see how your people doing. You know, if you're single. But if I'm in a relationship, I don't really check up on them.
Okay.
I like to keep tabs on my people, see how they're doing in the past.
Oh, so you're coming from a friend place. Like, you really still care about them. You want to make sure that they're okay. Even though it's none of your business anymore.
This thing is, man, if you're bored, you check out.
Okay,
check up on your ex.
if you're bored.
But no, what I'm saying is...
I'm calling bullshit. I think that's an excuse. But
what?
Okay.
If you ain't got nothing to do, you start thinking about your past, and you just go see, like, oh, I wonder what they're up to. It's just more curiosity. And like, damn.
Interesting.
And sometimes the ones that got away, you're like, damn, yeah, we had good times. This is when you were single and having, like, laying in bed at night.
No,
it's IG.
I wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that. To me, it feels like I'm still giving them power.
Huh?
But you're still giving them your emotional power, and you're letting, like, their influence infect how you might be wanting a new kind of love. But maybe. I don't know. You do you. As the saying goes, as the kids say.
I can stalk without any kind of feeling. I can look at somebody Instagram, like, stalk their page and not feel anything.
The stalking, a non-emotional stalker is not a thing.
I am a non-emotional. I stalk people that I don't even know. Like, I just go on Instagram and click another profile with no intention. You're not in the IG. You don't understand IG. You know what I'm saying?
Probably Probably not.
People who are watching this know you can just go on IG and just stalk for no reason. You just go on you can click another person. Oh, their friend. Oh, their cousin friend.
Holy shit.
Somebody they've never met. You just click on it. Oh, and then you just go. You just go about your day. You never stalked like that before?
No.
You could just go and look on people and see how people are doing?
No.
It's like people watching.
Yeah. Okay, but those are strangers.
But it's digital people watching. Yeah, you're looking at strangers too. So like, let's say you're checking out your ex, right? And then
Trying.
you're looking at your ex
Thinking.
page, right? And then
Thinking.
her cousin's friend page. Oh, who is this person? And you just click that, and then a random stranger, you just click that too.
Well, thank you. I think that's very honest.
It's just
If you would to admit that.
it's just stalking random
What is it?
people. It's like people watching, but digitally.
Random people.
You ever digital people watch? You don't digital people watch?
Nope.
Because you go on Facebook, that's why. It's not
I
easy.
don't go on Facebook. I don't
Facebook
go
is
on
different. You can't
anything.
really digital people watch. Facebook is just a bunch of random
You
stuff.
can find out so much information on just anybody through the internet, which I think is a little bit alarming.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help you move on though. Like it doesn't help you get over the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this to me, in a lot of ways, it's very much like a chemical addiction. If I'm committed to being a non-smoker, I'm not going to be around people who smoke, at least for a certain time period. Afterward, like I haven't smoked in years and years and years, so I can be around people who smoke and I find it disgusting. I can't stand the smell. I can't,
Weed or
a
cigarette?
part of that, cigarettes. Yeah. Yeah, my rebel years were something else. So, yeah, lessons learned. I am very proud of the work that I've done to get over past loves because it really made me a much better person, more empathic. I would never want to cause the person I'm with the same kind of pain that I've experienced through the hands of others. And not knowing, like I don't even blame them now, but yeah, I have let go of 99% of all the whatever blame I might have. I'm not much of a victim anyway though. Like
Yeah.
I don't go into that.
I have a lot of soul ties.
That's nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, it's not that nice.
No, that's beautiful.
What's beautiful?
You're here to be here for soul ties.
Soul
Like,
ties?
that's-
Yeah, I have a lot of soul ties. That's why I
Yeah.
say,
They pull
Yeah.
you in the direction that you really need to go. Like how else could you be pulled in like what feels right to you without that tug?
a tug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think us men is harder for us. We more so, love forever. Not forever, but we more so like hold on to soul ties more than women.
Well, I hold on to mine. I just manage them differently.
You manage them different. I manage them good too.
I think you do too.
But we have we
Yeah.
have soul ties with people.
Yes. The love never leaves. It's not supposed to. Like you always are. If you really loved that person, like you really love that person, you're always going to love them.
Dang. Because I feel like you. That's not for everybody though.
I know.
I think that's like.
It's very hard.
I think that's like a
Very hard.
like a masculine trait.
Possibly.
To always love.
It's also like an integrity trait too, though. If you say you love someone, those aren't just flippant words. You shouldn't just be throwing those around, because if you throw those around to everybody, nobody's gonna trust you, because they're not really real. What does that mean? Like, what does it mean? You have to explain what your love means to somebody else. If I say I love you, that means, to me, that means I want the best for you. And even if I'm not that person, I still want the best for you. Like, that's real love to me. Love doesn't ask for anything in return. It's not,
Look at
conditional.
that.
It's not
facts.
let me manipulate you by saying these words to somehow
Yeah.
feel secure or better about myself or something.
And a lot of people in a relationship, they love somebody because of how they make them feel. Like a lot of people, about how they make them feel. And if that feeling goes away, they stop loving the person. But that's not real love. I mean, but who knows who knows what real love is? But I'm saying, what I consider real love is not conditional.
Right. It would be a lot more honest if people said, "I love how you make me feel."
Yeah,
That's so honest.
Yeah.
That would be so much more honest than I love you. And maybe you do.
You love them in that moment.
Like, hold on now. If they ask you, if they turn that around, like, what do you love about me? And you can't answer that. You can't give them a laundry list of things that just hit the spot for you.
I love that you buy me stuff.
There you go. I love that you take me out to dinners or something. You know, like I love that you hold the door open or something.
When they stop doing that, I don't love you no more. I just, you know what? You changed.
You've changed. The magic
it's just
word.
Not the same anymore. I just don't feel the same way. And then they leave you after 10 years.
What? Like, whose relationship is this?
Oh, people online?
Oh, okay. Right.
I haven't had a 10-year relationship before. I'm talking about just people online.
Yeah.
All these things that I'm seeing.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. These men who've been with women for 20 years and then the women leave them.
They up and bounce.
Yeah. So I'm like, ooh, let me be careful. I don't want to be like those guys. But it can happen to any of us.
It can, and it probably will.
Probably will.
Considering the way that, we don't value marriage the way that we used to because we attach it to so many other things. Marriage back in the day used to be about survival, about the teamwork and continuity of the tribe. Right now, I think it's a lot about posturing, about having the dress and the cake and the wedding and living this fantastic fantasy life on social media and then devolving into screaming matches every other weekend because you don't know how to communicate. Like that to me has been why a huge chunk of the population is like, not only do I not want to get married, but I'm not even sure I want a full-on relationship because it just seems too hard. There's too much information to process. I don't know if love is real or not. If I could survive with just a close knit of friends, why do I need that extra somebody who may or may not make up for all the things that I'm lacking and vice versa? Which, you got to ask yourself, why do you want to be in a relationship and what is it worth? Knowing that chances are, if you put yourself out there, it doesn't matter. Like the ride is so worth it. Having been in love several times, the ride is so worth it. Here's what we can tell you on how to lovingly get over a breakup without slapping on all the fakeness, without putting armor on, without completely saying no to every love that will come to you in the future. Number one, you got to give yourself time. Time to heal, time to feel, time to think through your thoughts. You have to be accountable. Number two, what did I do to influence this breakup? Number three, you really get to get clear about who you want in a partner. I'm sure that there was a lot of great traits about that person that you absolutely loved, and you probably really loved the fact that the tumultuous nature of that love adventure did some crazy things to you that you have never experienced before. But what do you want to create in the future, right? And I think probably the last tip for that one, talk about your feelings. Don't bury them in a closet or some shallow grave in the backyard. Don't stalk your ex. Don't do it. It's cold turkey, baby. Get on, move on. Like an addict who's been in withdrawal, you have to stay away from the people, places, and things of your addiction for a good number of time until you can look at that from a very objective standpoint and say, I feel the love. I'm so happy that we're at this place in our relationship. Time to move on. Well, that does it for this episode of Dear Sweet In-Law. If you love honest, real, gritty conversations about life, love, and relationships, consider subscribing. Push the like button, leave a comment, share with your friends. We would love to interact with our happy members. And to do so, we also have a Patreon page where we get to talk about things that YouTube doesn't really want to hear. So this is more specific conversations on client stories, on how we've helped them get past sticky, strategic stuff in their relationship and their lives in general. See you next time, guys.